Previously on City of Dana.
You sound like a well-traveled man, Cricket. I'll get some rest.
Aye, First Mate Prumpt. Let's rest.
I will rest. If you sleep, then how do you imagine we'll rouse the crew for the midnight watch?
I'll set an alarm, mate.
Who will sound an alarm if every man sleeps? Just set your eyes on that clock and wait for the hands to make their way to 10 plus 45.
Aye, aye. Mate Prumpt.
Previously on Pilgrim, we learned that Kathryn Elizabeth's ex, Dan, was on the ship with his fiancée, Nadia. We also learned that Kathryn Elizabeth's new fiancé, Jack, was formerly engaged to Nadia. I'm Jordan Paul Sullivan, creative director for Lantern Theater's City of Dana series. In part 3 of Pilgrim, relationships will be tested, as old lovers are forced to come eye to eye for the first time in years. Tonight on Pilgrim.
Pilgrim, Part 3, Madness and Time. Episode 1, Back in the First Mate's Cabin. The spear from Prumpt's harpoon is stuck firmly in the right wall. Banana gunk covers the clothes and hair of both Cricket and Dan. The gunk is pretty much everywhere in the room. The huge pile of bananas that previously covered the dresser is no more. Cricket cowers against the wall near the desk. Dan is pulling on the harpoon spear, attempting with all his might to loosen the object from the unyielding grip of the wall. Cricket is losing his shit. Dan, meanwhile, is enjoying himself.
I'll say it again. That was my bad.
Holy shit!
I need to get me one of these. How much do you think this thing set Davy's back?
There's banana sludge all over the place. Prumpt's gonna kill us both when he gets back. He's got a gun, you know.
I think I'd take this thing any day over that Civil War era revolver he's carrying about there on his hip.
Why are you playing around? Prumpt isn't playing around. Prumpt shot at us earlier today. Just because some of the men were goofing off, Prumpt shot at us.
Davy shot someone?
First Mate Prumpt. Don't get me into the habit of calling him Davies, damn it. Prumpt shot right past Pong's head.
It's probably a blank. How long since he left for, wherever he went?
The bath, not the bathroom. Don't want that lecture again. The powder room.
Yeah, how long since he left to take a shit?
I don't know. 10 minutes ago he left.
You can relax, Cricket. It's John Davies. This is what he does.
Cricket responds with the fear of God in his voice.
He's not John Davies. He's Prumpt, a first mate who happens to have great authority aboard this ship. Godlike authority. This is how first mates were back in the 1800s. And Prumpt, whether you agree or not, is this brig's mate.
So here's how we handle this. You're gonna help me clean up these banana guts. We'll be polite to Prumpt and apologize for the mess we've made.
That you made.
For the mess we made.
Leave me out of this.
That way Davies won't feel forced to follow through with his Prumpt character zeal for punishing instances of, shit like this. And everything will be honky-dory. Got it?
Cricket? Why do I see no semblance of torchlight coming from the sailors' quarters? The men snore and appear to still be fast asleep. Cricket, wherefore sleepeth my crew, damn you? Cricket!
Oh God! Prumpt told me to wake the children. Move!
Cricket runs out. Dan removes his shirt and begins using it to wipe away the banana gunk from the harpoon spear. He then places the instrument back inside the duffel bag. He slides the apples over to where the stack of bananas used to be, in order to cover the hole he's made in the wall.
Cricket!
Enter Prompt. He is in a state of shock and horror as he looks upon the condition of his cabin.
What fruity hell is this? Are we under attack? That'll teach me to buy my dessert bananas from an Alto California savage. He sees me in my livery and tries to take advantage of my first mate's salary. Then he has the gall to send me off with produce from his self-combusting stock.
I've, never heard of exploding bananas before.
I've only come across them once myself, when I was still a young man working as a crew member aboard a merchant vessel. We stopped by the eastern part of Jamaica to restock on supplies and procure some special tobacco. The important things, young sailor. It was there I saw my first and only banana combust into its elemental aromas and vapors. Until now. Did you see it combust?
I did. It got all over me, as you can see. The east side of Jamaica, huh? Which port was that?
Puerto Anton.
That doesn't exist, does it?
Are you sure, sailor?
Never heard of it.
Do you know Kingston? I'm sure you do. It's north of Kingston. Have you ever sailed Jamaica?
No, I can't say I've sailed there before.
That's why you've never heard of it. Your reason for being in my quarters. Nobody should enter a first mate's quarters without the mate's express permission.
The other guy let me in.
The other guy?
Your second mate. He gave me permission.
Cricket?
I asked if I can come in and he said sure. Then the bananas just, bam, exploded.
Surely Cricket knows better. He'll be disciplined. Where's your shirt, sailor?
Is there a dress code?
If you're not aloft in the rigging, then you'll dress as if you were in a woman's company. That's the dress code. You're inside the Brig Pilgrim. I won't have my sailors offend the vessel by walking up and down her halls like you're stromping about some cheap brothel in the Dakota Territory.
What you were doing in the powder room, that doesn't offend the vessel at all, right?
Prompt spots Cricket in the hallway.
Cricket! I see you, Cricket! Get back here and clean up this mess! There's been a war in here between Apple and Banana Stock, and the apples seem to have made a most decisive conquest. Cricket?
Cricket enters with a mop and a modern-day industrial mop bucket. Prompt is outraged, as if bodily offended by the anachronism.
What torture rack holds your broom in this barrow of water? It's been painted in such an obscene hue of yellow. I'll have no broom sopping its wet filth around my quarters. Get it out!
Cricket exits with the mop bucket. Cricket re-enters. Prompt retrieves some filthy rags from under his bed and hands them to Cricket.
Cricket here. Get to work. If you want something done right, do it with your own two hands. No dripping brooms. I want the odors gone. Too much sweetness is putting a strain on my nostrils. The sugars dissipated in the air have set the deepest innards of my nose aflame.
Prompt, exasperated by the smell, sits down in his chair.
This might be a little more difficult than I was anticipating. Davies is really dug in deep. There's one method. A method that's tried and true. It's quick, it works, and there's not much to it. There are some more nuanced methods for getting a person to break character, of course, but, I mean, why not start off with something simple? The old dependable.
Dan lifts his leg up slightly and rips a loud roaring fart. Prompt slides down into the seat of his chair, and his entire face is cartoonishly aghast.
My nostrils, they are beset on two fronts, the sweet and the foul.
Dan limps slowly away. Prompt whips Dan upon the back, and Dan hies towards the exit. As Dan is exiting, Lee casually passes him by. Lee stands upon the front edge of Prompt's chair and opens her trench coat. It is implied that she is gyrating her bare genitals in front of Prompt's face.
Smooth as a seal's nose. Ah, there's a third front. The musky aroma drowns out the others, and it mesmerizes.
Prompt dozes into a brief dreamlike state. Lee ties her jacket back up and then begins to dismount from the chair. Before she can get down, Prompt snaps out of his trance and lunges upwards, throwing Lee with all of his might against the wall. Lee stands up promptly, and she faces Prompt. They stand as if readying for a duel.
Oh, begone, you crimson-fleshed, you beautiful nymph, breath of hypnotic air. I will not vouchsafe myself to the subtleties of your luring, your base, erotic desires. This is my vessel.
Your vessel will be mine whether you permit it or not.
Lee opens up her trench coat again and flashes her breasts and genitals.
Subtle, am I?
Prompt clutches his chest and falls into his chair, exasperated. Prompt takes hold of his whip and raises it in the air. Lee runs out, laughing. She slams the door behind her.
Cricket!
Prompt turns violently towards Cricket, who cries out in horror, cowering behind the bed. Episode 2. The Main Hallway. There are 3 doors along the corridor, which lead, respectively, to the women's room, the first mate's quarters, and the men's room. Lee stands in the hallway, as Dan holds the middle door closed tight behind him. Dan releases the door handle and approaches Lee, somewhat hostile, somewhat amused.
You know, I've always wanted to meet a Chinese spy, so I could live out this little fantasy of mine.
You have a fantasy, do you?
Yeah, where I put my hands around the guy's neck and I squeeze harder and harder until his head pops like a grape.
I'm not a spy.
I don't care what you call yourself.
Lee takes Dan's hands and places them around her neck.
You've had your fantasies. I've had mine. I've always wanted to meet a big, strong American ape like you. I've desired to see the expression on your face when you realize I'm nothing more than a small, delicate lily, waiting upon the water.
I really will choke you.
Lee runs away.
Ah, those legs.
Exit Dan. Enter Jack and Nadia from opposite sides of the corridor.
I had a dream you died.
Was it a pleasant dream?
I know why you're here. I think you should leave before things get real messy. One of us might get hurt tonight. Probably you.
I can't leave.
You can jump into the ocean.
I considered it. You know I did, don't you?
You're a farce.
You're drunk.
Nadia and Jack look at one another with disgust. Suddenly, Nadia pulls herself towards Jack. and forces an embrace. Nadia kisses Jack upon the lips.
Nothing.
Fortunate for you.
Jack breathes out into Nadia's face.
What's the matter with you?
Can you smell it?
What?
The vomit.
Ha!
Jack spits some vomit on the floor.
You really did vomit? Oh, you're a real piece of work, Jack.
They stare at one another with disgust. Jack kisses Nadia, and they embrace for a few moments. Nadia pushes Jack away, wiping tears from her eyes.
The dream was nice while it lasted, wasn't it?
Nadia passes Jack and exits down the corridor. Jack exits via the left door into the men's cabin. Kathryn Elizabeth enters from the other side of the corridor, holding Didai, the female child, by the hand.
Oh, Nadia. Do you really not believe that anything you sequester away in your private keep, I couldn't just steal it all back with an ease that should be terrifying to you?
The door to the men's cabin opens unexpectedly, and Dan walks out. Kathryn Elizabeth hides herself under the tricorn hat and attempts to walk unnoticed. Dan grabs Kathryn Elizabeth by the elbow, pulling her face to face with him.
You know, there's a difference
There is.
between
Between what?
refusing.
Refusing who?
Would you shut up for a goddamn?
How long?
There's a difference between refusing to meet somebody and snubbing that person when you happen to encounter them live and in person.
Aw. I'm a somebody?
A whole year together. A nice little time capsule stored away in our memories. If one of us were to just snub the other person, a whole year after the whole thing was sealed and stowed away.
Okay, Dan. Hello, Daniel. Have a good evening, Daniel.
She begins to walk away.
So you're gonna snub me. After all that?
Kathryn Elizabeth turns back.
Do you know what my last memory is of us?
Come on. I told you. Time and time again.
You said one thing with your words, and something very different with your body. Your emotions can speak volumes. Can I go now?
She begins to ascend the stairs.
Well, now that we're in the middle of a conversation, there's no need to rush off. Unless you gotta, hit the powder room, as they say in the 1840s. That means take a shit.
No.
Kathryn Elizabeth stops at the bottom of the stairs and turns back.
We were never as sincere as Jack and Nadia, were we?
You don't want to be that sincere.
If it was that sincere, you really think it's something two people can just put behind them?
Well, I suppose there would have to be feelings of some sort, Like that shell left behind where those feelings used to live. Enough to know that the other person is still a part of you, but minor in comparison to how they once lit up the night sky. It's like the way I feel about you. You know what I mean. I'm sure you have those feelings too.
I have no feelings for you.
I mean the minor ones.
Not even.
Kathryn Elizabeth touches his chest lightly, as if apologizing.
I'm bored.
Me too. Can you take her, dude?
Sure.
Kathryn Elizabeth passes Didai off to Dan.
I should go help Nadia round up the other kids for the night watch.
All right. Are you okay?
You feel nothing? Nothing. Come on, nothing?
Not a thing. Do you want me to lie?
No, I don't want you to lie.
Then I won't.
You see? This is why. It's marred now.
I know. I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be sorry. I should go.
I shouldn't be. But then again, I won't lie. I'm sorry.
Can I have a lollipop?
Man, this girl is really into lollipops.
Good for her. You're gonna be popular with the boys someday, aren't you, Dadai?
Pervert?
That's why Robert Riggles designed the lollipop the way he did, to look like the head of a penis.
What?
Don't come at me and call me a pervert just for knowing a little trivia about corporate history in this great country of ours. It's important to know some of that history when you're a part of that lineage.
Bullshit alert. Bullshit alert.
No, get this. In consumer testing,
Bullshit alert.
In consumer testing, Rob Riggles concluded that girls found that the what's-it-called kind of shape, you know, Saturn in the ring, to be more appealing than any of the alternatives. Spherical, concave, oblong. The only model that tested better was the lollipop that was an exact candied replica of Riggles' own penis.
Okay, definitely bullshit.
Look it up. I swear on my marriage it's the truth. They felt the Saturn ring wasn't as overtly sexual as the Riggles penis model, whether that's with or without the cock ring.
Oh my god, your poor marriage.
And so they went with that Saturn plus rings molding, since it would make the Riggles company less vulnerable to lawsuits from certain mothers. You know what sort I mean.
I have no idea what you mean.
The type who might be confused by their lusting for the lollipop in the shape of Riggles' genitalia, and their outrage about how the lollipop is prematurely sexualizing their prepubescent daughters.
I'm gonna look that up when I get back to the lab. I think you're fabricating again. How'd you get so good at fabricating?
It's only fabricating until it becomes agreed upon by the majority. Then, it's the truth.
You and I never had a good understanding of the difference between fabrication and truth.
The advertisers for Riggles Corp, they do what they do for a reason. You never see a middle-aged fat chick with hirsutism sucking the lollipop in a Riggles poster, do you?
Is Riggles a real brand? Why do I feel out of left field that Riggles is a real brand of lollipops? Get the hell out of my head. It's a lesson, not emotions that I've stored up in my own time capsule. Goodbye, Dan. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye. I've got to head up to the deck. I should start looking for my shark.
It's a shark, then. I've been telling everyone it's a whale out there.
Kathryn Elizabeth laughs playfully.
Dan, what's the legal definition of madness?
Having thoughts or ideas that are outside the, I don't know, purview of social harmony. If you want the legalese, you can look that up too, when you're researching the Riggles Corp.
There's a sick sort of social harmony aboard this ship.
Well, you know, like, who gives a fuck? You do what you gotta do to, well...
To what?
To, you know, fucking kill.
Dan points his fingers in the shape of a gun in Kathryn Elizabeth's general direction. Dan recoils his hand back, as if shooting his finger gun.
Right on, cowboy.
Exit Dan through the far left door. Kathryn Elizabeth gazes towards the men's cabin. She sits down.
The Greenland shark. How does such a dumb, cold, slow-moving shark take its bite out of a lightning-quick seal? Maybe the shark doesn't have to rely on its natural abilities. Not its speed, not its appearance, not even its intelligence. It has none of those. Perhaps all the shark has to do is convince the world around it, as it dreams on there for 500 years, that it's as harmless as a rock, planted on the bottom of the ocean. The seals swim over to the rock, and one may even look for shelter under that frigid body, not realizing until it's been caught by the dreamer that it has wandered into a place where none in their right mind should have ever dared to adventure, risking it all. Life, limb, Everything the seal loved. Everything the seal only thought it loved.
Kathryn Elizabeth stands up and exits up the stairs. Episode 3. The Deck of the Brig Pilgrim. All is black, except for a sliver of moonlight, and a box of light coming up from the stairwell. Kathryn Elizabeth and Lee sit on the starboard side of the ship, overlooking the harbor water. Lee has changed out of her trench coat and is now wearing the flannel top and shorts that she was wearing earlier.
I can see my bed in the moonlight.
The moonlight on the water makes me nostalgic for my hometown.
It's really dark. If it wasn't for the moonlight, I don't think I'd be able to see my own feet.
Is it usually this dark?
It's probably a rolling blackout.
Are we still in the harbor?
Yes.
I can't see anything.
You can almost see a pale reflection there in the foam line on Baby Beach.
A beach for babies.
A beach with no waves.
How's that?
The ocean is kept out by the jetty. The waves are banned.
I don't hear waves colliding against a jetty.
I do. There.
Nope.
Maybe.
Maybe we've traveled through time.
Now that's a speedy conclusion.
Just thinking out loud.
In a way, we have traveled back in time. This is probably what the harbor looked like back in 1835.
Reminds me of a poem I read when I was a young girl. The poet wrote about falling asleep on his couch while staring at the tree in his courtyard, and then upon waking, he realized he was outside the whole time, resting under that tree, looking in on his couch and his jug of wine.
How'd you get out here? Do you have a problem?
The universe has a problem.
How's that?
It has no purpose but to expand and then end. The heat death of the universe is coming on, faster than we can appreciate. Time is relative, and 1 trillion years can dissipate in an instant. Space-time will fracture, and there will be no heat, no information, no meaning.
You can't go on thinking things like that.
When little pockets of the universe develop some momentary sentience or even, intelligence, as you and I have here, we should do whatever we can to drink up all the pleasure that we can manage, while time permits.
You need to have a little faith in the universe.
It's irrational.
I think you have a problem.
There are a few downsides to being raised with no religion. You have no story to fall back on.
I was raised a Christian, but that's not what I fall back on. There are other things. I have my family.
Purged.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Kathryn Elizabeth quickly attempts to change the subject.
We've transported through time, you say. What's your theory?
I can't.
It's 1840. Don't make me get Dan up here. He'll tell you all about how there's this thing called terms of endearment that says if an event happened so many years ago...
Stop. Fine. BJIAS believes there are black holes.
Obviously.
Millions of them.
This is known.
In the Earth's oceans.
What?
And we believe they are large enough that they have sufficient mass to allow for time dilation.
Kathryn Elizabeth laughs and immediately feels guilty for laughing, noticing Lee's discomfort.
I'm sorry.
We've only explored 5% of the ocean.
But black holes? Is that even possible?
What do you mean?
Mathematically.
We don't adhere to mathematics.
What? You don't believe in math?
We use mathematics, but we aren't devoted to it. It's led scientists astray in the past.
What?
1 + 1 = 2 is the most faithful function we know. 2 + 2 is less so.
It's 4.
It's less stable, though.
It's 4.
Not as often as 1 + 1 is 2.
What?
Once the numbers are large enough and the functions complex enough, believing in the output of a mathematical function is tantamount to undertaking a religious observance, since you'd be trusting the solutions based on formulas that are not purely logical.
What? But, dude, black holes in the ocean? The math would have to be really wrong. I mean, really wrong.
Once we find the things, the mathematicians can come along and figure out how all their little numbers fit our observations.
But black holes... millions of them?
Thousands. Millions. We can't be sure.
You believe in numbers, I'll take it.
Our evidence suggests that if they do exist, they exist in multitudes.
What evidence?
It's proprietary.
God damn it. You do understand why I'm hesitant to believe in anything you say.
The holes in the ocean, they're not the sort of holes we've studied in space. These would be massive enough to distort time, but too small to become stable for more than a few seconds.
A black hole can slow down the flow of time, but it wouldn't take us back in time. Not that I'm an expert in holes.
I'm not telling you to believe it. I'm not convinced either. Keep an open mind.
If my mind opens any further, my sleepy little brain will spill out.
Lee gets up and stretches, and then looks around.
I'm heading to the poop deck.
The back of the ship?
Is that where it is?
Exit Lee. Lee, out of sight, calls back from the poop deck.
The poop deck looks nice and quiet and dark.
Careful it's not a black hole. Or a bunghole.
What are you, 5?
I don't know, does 2 + 3 make 30?
Don't embarrass yourself.
Enter Jack from the stairs.
Why do they call it the poop deck?
It's from the French.
French for what? Poop?
I have no idea what it means.
It's where the French pop a squat and their asses start chirping loop-oop, loop-oop, loop-oop. It's like a whole different way of living on board a ship. The most rudimentary English deleted. Find and replace, no more left, no more right.
They still use left and right. I'm sitting to your right.
You're sitting to my starboard. Wait, no, you're sitting aft of me, also known as poop board.
No, I'm sitting to your right. The sailor uses words like port and starboard in situations when he's referring to the anatomy of his ship. In this case, his brig.
What makes it a brig?
It has 2 masts, the main mast and then a second mast called the foremast, since it's in front of the main.
You really must be coming down here every week. You're almost like one of the crew now.
In medicine, we take the same approach to human anatomy. More anatomical terms like distal, dorsal, anterior. Replace up and down, back and front. It shows that the object is worthy enough to be categorized into its organizing parts and figured out. By giving an object, such as the poop deck, a name, you bring that object to life and give it dignity.
Not much dignity.
The nomenclature takes a pile of wood and ropes and canvas and constructs a brig inside the minds of those who sail upon it, work upon it, live upon it.
Now that's what I feel like. In the minds of everyone else, a big pile of flesh and bone and brains.
Lee's voice calls out, as if from the void of the night.
And rot.
Go away.
Is she spying on us?
She's trying to figure out how to time travel, is all.
Interesting.
No, really. She intends to travel through time.
To where?
The present is all that exists.
What?
There is no past or future.
Since when?
Since now.
Who said so?
A man who lived many thousands of years ago.
You mean like in the past?
He was a man wiser than anyone here in our time, and who no longer exists. Not here, not there, not in some place we've deemed the past.
Every second that passes, we're gradually creeping into the future. There it is, there we go, time traveling.
I'm afraid that's not the case. There is nothing out there. No comfort of belonging in the future. No comfort in knowing that the past will remain a part of us.
You always list Chipper, man?
The present is like a ship, traveling through the ocean. The present is moving, but the past and future, it's all just water.
Jesus.
Do you happen to know if she has any intense preoccupations with her own mortality?
I'm gonna have PTSD after this conversation, dude. Who the hell are we talking about?
The Chinese girl.
Lee? A fear of death, I'd say.
There's this notion that the past is preserved on some shore. Time travel is a figment of this belief. But there are no shores, just water.
I'd say you might be preoccupied with your own mortality, too. What do you want me to do with this information? Jump off the ship?
It's funny.
Finally, something funny.
When you're healthy, you're mostly preoccupied with your own mortality. But when you're sick, you become more concerned about the people you'll be leaving behind. Your preoccupation with your own mortality subsides. You're just ready to move on.
How's that funny?
I try to remind myself that everybody I know will be dead soon, so it really doesn't matter that much.
Fuck me. Where's the punchline? In the future? The one that doesn't exist?
There's something about you.
That's nice. We've been talking a lot.
What else is there? Stuck on a tall ship, but to talk?
You could kiss me.
You want me to kiss you?
You're here, so it might as well be you.
I am the one who's here, and you're also here.
Oh, Jack.
And you look so stunning there, with the soft moonlight combing through your hair.
You don't always get a second opportunity at romance these days. If it does come along, you take it.
Jack overshoots Kathryn Elizabeth's lips and delivers a modest kiss upon her forehead.
On the forehead? Well, don't wait up for me, Jack, if I faint on you.
Kathryn Elizabeth falls upon the deck and lies there for a moment. Jack stands up and exits. Kathryn Elizabeth doesn't know that Jack has left.
I'm starting to envy the harbor fish and the way the pelicans eat them up so passionately.
Kathryn Elizabeth sits up and looks around.
Jack? Did you really just leave?
Enter Lee.
Any progress?
No. And no shark sightings down here either.
We're not really here looking for a shark.
You seem to be confused.
No, you are. We're trying to get you laid.
And here I am, engaged.
Kathryn Elizabeth stands up and takes 3 steps backwards. She trips and falls into a giant vat of fish guts. The tricorn hat falls to the deck, remaining dry.
What is this? Has the harbor laid a trap for me?
No, it's that vat of fish guts. I almost fell in earlier.
Did we stray too far outside of time, Jack?
Kathryn Elizabeth climbs out of the vat. Lee appears offended by the smell.
Jack left. You don't remember?
Then who's that?
That's the mast. Is your head okay?
The mast? Which one, mainmast or foremast?
I don't know. The front one?
Foremast. Good.
Kathryn Elizabeth addresses the mast.
Announce to the pelicans out there in the harbor, my good man, that there's an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord aboard the Brig Pilgrim. Let them know, my good man, and advise them they should come get some of me while it lasts, because there's not much of me. My only stipulation is that they take the stench of the harbor back with them. That's the memo. Dispatch it promptly, my good man.
Lee picks up a small rope from the floor and ties it around Kathryn Elizabeth's left wrist. Kathryn Elizabeth continues to address the mast.
What's that? A fine question, my good man. The pelicans wouldn't see me at all. It's nice to have a good man looking out for a good prince. Send out the dispatch. We've modified our menu. They can have the fish guts, but they are to leave my rot alone, since that's for another to notice.
Come with me. You're talking to a pole.
Lee leads Kathryn Elizabeth towards the stairwell.
I'm fine. Is it time for the watch? I had to get something off my chest. It's gone now.
It's still there. Try not to look down.
Kathryn Elizabeth touches the fish head tucked within the cleavage of her breasts.
You mean this, Lee?
Oh, God. Let's find you a shower.
It's fine, Lee. Don't be startled. If I can't settle for a man, then I can settle for a fish.
Ugh, its head at least.
What are you, friend? A shad? Shiner? Trout? Announce yourself.
Kathryn Elizabeth pulls out the fish head.
Claudius.
Claudius?
The minnow. I knew him well, Lee.
I really hope not.
The minnows and his troop were always such a serious lot. Subservient to a T, ever adhering to the will of the school that moved about their smaller noses. But not Claudius. No. He was a fish of infinite jest, who swam at the front line and with just one quip could send the whole school into a frenzied rupture, and put every shrunken brain in mortal jeopardy. His bravado and good humor got them through the oil spill, and the second oil spill, but alas.
Kathryn Elizabeth holds up the fish head, inches from her own nose.
It seems you didn't make it much longer. You couldn't have been far past your 7th year.
You're talking to a minnow's head, which means you must have hit your own. I'll call for the doctor. Let's get you to a bed.
Get thee to a nunnery, Horatio. The Prince of Denmark has more pressing matters.
You're losing blood from your head.
It's the sport, Horatio. Blood may be drawn, but fret not, for I won't be dying of the insult.
Let's get you to a bed.
Lee, did something hit me?
Is Katie Beth back?
I'm ready to strike.
10 seconds ago, you thought you were the Prince of Denmark.
We're no longer in the year 1840, are we?
We might be.
Huh. You're the one losing her mind.
I'll take you to that nunnery.
The minute you walked in, it wouldn't be a nunnery anymore, you lascivious whore. I'm sorry, nymph is your calling. Do what you must.
Lee and Kathryn Elizabeth walk into the light of the stairwell.
Oh, God. I'm gonna puke.
What's this?
Kathryn Elizabeth holds up the fish head to show Lee.
Seriously, stop. Why are you still holding that?
Exit Lee and Kathryn Elizabeth. Their voices are heard coming up the stairwell.
Why does he look so familiar? Hold him for me?
Oh, God. I'm gonna blow. Let's see if they have any running water down here.
I saw a mop bucket in the hallway.
The central box of light is all that remains upon the blackened deck. The shouting and hollering of children is heard coming from below deck. Moments pass, and then the jangling of Prump's whip is heard.
Next time on City of Dana.
Black waters consumed by the black skies. And then us sailors in the middle of it all. The open seas, what life. We're home, my fellow seamen.
I'm pretty sure we're still in the harbor. If you squint hard enough, you can still see the edge of the dock.
Daniel, play along. I mean it.
I see the dock.
Fix that while you're at it, will you? Don't ruin this for the children. That's what I want pre-programmed into your little lawyer brain, Dan.
Jesus.